So first and foremost, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us and popping in and listening. Tonight, I'm going to do a short outtake on liver renewal. I'm going to share 10 free herbs or 10 great herbs, including a free sheet that I'm going to give you the details on how to get it with my top 10 herbs recommendations, 3 habit hacks, and also how you can start healing your liver starting right now. I'm also going to share additional supports. So if you're ready to dive deeper into understanding and healing your liver, those will be ready for you at the end of this class as well. I'll send every registrant that the replay of this. So if you're like, I didn't catch something, or maybe somebody you know might benefit from this information, you'll be able to share that with them as well. And I'm also going to share a 90-day liver renewal program that I recommend for a gentle but very robust liver renewal protocol that is good for everyone. Before I get started with all of that, I just want to do a brief intro for anyone who doesn't know about me or who I am or what I'm all about. But I'm Lacey Grimm, and I was dealing with some stuff that I keep hearing everybody is dealing with. One of the key words is thyroid. And for many years, probably since the birth of my son, who's now almost 10, I realized I was having some thyroid. Adrenal fatigue is what it started as, and then it kind of moved into more like regular and consistent thyroid struggles. I was trying everything. I was doing all the things. I was taking supplements specific for thyroid. I even went to see a naturopath who gave me a prescription for some things. And I would see some like alleviation of those issues, but it kind of always came back as soon as I ran out of that supplement. And then finally, I started looking at my liver. I was doing a little diving down deeper, and I was like, okay, there's got to be something, some fundamental healing that has to happen that's causing my thyroid to not function appropriately. Some of the things I was noticing is my menstrual cycles were harder. I was relying more and more on caffeine and stimulants to get through each day. And even though I was doing healthy things, I wasn't seeing the results that people would say that I should expect from those healthy things. And so I started to think, okay, something is happening with my processing center. And of course, our processing center is the liver. And so I started really realizing that the issue was my liver. So I was born with jaundice. A lot of kids are, but I actually had to stay in the hospital for about a week until I fully recovered. And so I've always in the back of my mind a little bit wondered, oh, maybe that weakened my liver to some extent so that I would just kind of always have a little bit of an issue to deal with. Um, and as I started to dive deeper into what the liver actually does, I realized it's sort of the fundamental piece that pulls everything that our body does together. It is the processor. So if you think about the processor in your computer, you can't do anything if you can't tell your computer what to do and it does it. And that's exactly what the liver does. As we take in information, it sorts it and it sends it where it needs to go. And that's everything from the foods we eat and anything else that we intake or put on our bodies, including products that we might put on our skin, but even the information that we take in. A lot of times we think about our brain, but more of what we take in is about emotional and like almost instantaneous reactions that happen at a cellular level, at a hormonal level that our brain really has very little to do with almost. It's just like a reflex to any given circumstance. And one really good example of that is sort of an adrenaline slash cortisol reaction that we might have when you feel the hairs on the back of your neck go up and you don't even know what's happened, but your body senses something, right? That's where the liver jumps in to start pumping out the adrenaline that we would need to deal with that kind of situation. And a lot of times in the modern society that we live in and in the high stress environments that we all kind of participate in, whether we want to or not, it puts us in this state of high cortisol release all the time, which is really hard on the liver, not to mention the rest of our body. As we start to age, obviously the liver takes a lot of the brunt of the problems and situations that we've put ourselves in, whether it's we maybe drank too much or even exposed ourselves to some substances when we were younger. We can no longer hide behind youth, and the liver really is starting to show the signs of aging. But the exciting part is that the liver is actually the only organ that can regenerate up to 50%, which is incredible. That's a lot of hope in that story. No other organ can do that. And I think what that really represents is how important the liver is. We cannot live without it. And so it can regenerate almost completely, which is insane. Some of the major issues that we have as we go through our lives, First of all, our liver has kind of parts of it have atrophied and even grayed up. But what else happens is that we stop making as much bile. And a lot of this is to do with our diets. Our diets are not triggering of bile. A lot of times we eat diets that are high in sugar and high in fats, high in processed foods, but not in things that trigger bile production. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on. And then another thing is hydration. Our hydration is not good. Even when we do drink water, the water isn't high quality. And again, we'll talk about that more as we go on. I want to start actually with our top 10 herbs because I think that that's a really fun way to begin. And it'll trigger some ideas on ways that you can actually up your bile and trigger hormone, or I'm sorry, trigger your liver renewal at the same time. So if you just take a note about this, if you can get your copy, I'm going to pull up a share screen, but you can get your copy at myliverrenewal.health. At the bottom of that page, you actually, there's a place to purchase this resource, but you actually can use the coupon code renew me, all one word, and get access to that for free. And it's a download. And so you don't have to take any screenshots or really worry about that tonight. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we'll just look at this together. So you can see some of these you probably recognize are already new, and this is a very short reference. There are hundreds of other benefits and uses for these herbs, and also there are other herbs that could potentially be on this list. But I really focused on ones that are either easy to access, that you may even already have, or that I find to be pleasurable in using. There are more out there. There's a lot of Chinese herbs that are much harder to get your hands on. And a lot of these are actually growing right now, probably out your back door or in a very close proximity. So we'll go ahead and just start briefly and talk about some of the top five, maybe in the top 10, dandelion being one of those. The way you can use this sheet too is you can see at the bottom we have the ways that you can use these different plants and what you might expect from how they grow, where they grow, how you could maybe even grow them yourself. And a lot of these you can. Dandelion I love because we tend to think of dandelion, if you're not an herbalist, you tend to think of it as just kind of a nuisance in the lawn that pops up everywhere. And dandelion is so much more than that. And often when we see dandelion popping up in the soil, it's because there is an injury there. There's a problem there that needs to be fixed, and dandelion is the guy for the job. Dandelion has a way of accessing deep-seated minerals in the soil. It has a very long taproot and drawing those up to the surface and making them available to the plants around them. And if you didn't know, you can eat dandelion heads, you can eat dandelion leaves, you can eat dandelion roots. In fact, dandelion, the root of it can be used as kind of a coffee supplement along with chicory. Chicory is another really good herb that grows similarly to dandelion. You'll often find it in the same place in either soils that have been disturbed or that are very compacted, that are depleted of nutrition. And so these two options are really easy to find. You can go out and forage them for yourself. There's a few lookalikes like dandelion. None of them are dangerous, but just know that when you're identifying and looking for herbs, look at the leaf, look at the flower, look at the root even as an identifier. But you can use either or both of these in a tea. I actually love roasted chicory as a supplement or an addition to my coffee. It's extremely good for the liver. It's very alkalinizing, and it also helps detoxing. It makes your coffee far less acidic. So if you are a coffee drinker, chicory is a really great option. If you are not a coffee drinker, but you do like the flavor, you can use chicory just like you would in a latte with some milk or over ice or hot, however you like it. I will say you want that to be roasted. So what commonly will happen, or commonly how you buy chicory, is the root is roasted and it turns a dark black color. You can also eat chicory leaves and dandelion leaves. And these are two really good examples of greens that have been traditionally eaten that we no longer really eat very often, unless you're a really good forager and you're doing this on your own. They don't sell chicory leaves and dandelion leaves in the grocery store in your mixed green package. Unfortunately, because they come with so many minerals and so many vitamins that are very difficult to find, particularly in the greens and products that we find at stores. So one of the major issues that we have to remember about any product is that the nutritional value of any plant or vegetable has only the amount that went into it as it was grown. So it can be very difficult even to find products that are have the full potential of what they might be able to offer us. Because when you grow something in an industrial way, you use a lot of shortcuts that might produce a really beautiful product, but they don't produce a very nutritional product. And so even when you're thinking about your foods and what you're eating from the grocery store, a lot of times it just doesn't have the same amount of nutrition that foods that we would grow in our own backyards or from local farms and farmers, and certainly not what we were getting 100 years ago. So there is a sort of a huge discrepancy, and our liver is feeling the brunt of that. And so I think in large part why so many people are dealing with liver issues is because we're all facing that same problem. We're all shopping at very similar grocery stores, and we're getting the same nutrient deficient foods. And we're certainly not getting bitter foods. And these bitter foods are really critical for improving bile production, stimulating liver regeneration, and helping us ultimately process everything else that we get in our diets. So another thing to add to the list is licorice. I love licorice. This time of year is a really great tool to start pulling out. It's incredible for women and their menstrual issues and just general hormone balancing. But licorice is very sweet and it tastes like sugar. So if you add any amount of licorice to any tea, it just tastes like sweetened tea. So we'll take licorice and lemon balm, or we'll take licorice and even dandelion or chicory. And a lot of times we just have a cold tea in the refrigerator to just sip on through the day. And that adds a ton of mineral density to the hydration that we are getting, but it makes it taste sweet, and my kids love it and think it's like candy. Going back to rosemary is another really commonly grown plant in this part of the world. And so this is something, if you're not growing it, it's really simple to grow. It doesn't like wet feet, so find a dry spot to put your rosemary in. It can do very well through drought periods, and is a lovely border plant, and it smells amazing, can be used in cooking. And if we start to think about our food as medicine, then we start to realize that most of the foods that we love so much have these traditional flavors like basil or cinnamon, cilantro, all of these things. And while yes, they're added for flavor, I think in large part we've been accustomed or grown accustomed to using these and liking these because we know they're beneficial, or we've seen the health benefits. And so over time we've grown accustomed to these flavors. A really good example of this is cinnamon. Cinnamon is such a strong and deep and warming and tasty addition to a lot of baked goods, but it also adds an element of preservation to the foods that we cook, as do a lot of different herbs and spices. So it's interesting when we start looking at our food histories this way. A lot of these things were added for function, and over time we've grown accustomed to them and are even drawn to them. And some of them we need to work on doing that again, because in olden days we ate a lot of bitters, and that was a very standard part of our diet. And there are some places you can find them pop up. For example, in mixed drinks, cocktails, bitters is a thing that you can buy. And a lot of that is to do with its ability to help with digestive needs. And of course, what are the digestive needs that we have? When we eat high fat, especially high fat meals or anything really, our liver needs more bile to break that down. And so when we drink a bitter or eat bitter herbs and help produce more bile, it helps us break those foods down and have less issues with our digestive tract. And overall, it's not just how we digest it, it's how we also upload it in terms of using it for the things and the functions that we have to do. All right, let's see. That was three. What else? Oh, that was four. Let's talk about one more, which is we'll do geranium just because it's such a key element in liver fortification. Geranium is a really potent, strong smell. It's not my favorite, I have to be honest, but it is very good at cleansing, and it really is great at helping eliminating chemicals and even like heavy metals from our bodies. And geranium, it's been used in skincare products for such a long time, thousands of years potentially, and it's very commonly mimicked in the skincare products that we buy. And one of the things that I really want to help remind you is that when we mimic nature, we often we deteriorate its potential and sort of exasperate any negativity that might be caused. So geranium is a really good example. If you get a fragrance of geranium, you're going to be triggering all kinds of wacky hormone function that you really don't want to do, obviously. But you need to be more, it's really about raising awareness in terms of what is in the products that we're using. And if there is geraniol, it means it's been extrapolated from geranium. And what we want to look for is geranium, the whole plant, because in the whole plant is where we find whole healing. And when we take pieces out, or if we synthesize parts of these, then we start to get all kinds of side effects. And that is harder for our liver to process because it no longer recognizes it. It becomes a foreign object when we take it in. So I'm not going to go over the rest of each of these, but I am going to make sure that you get this. If you didn't hear, I'll make sure you get an email with the information about how to get that download and print this for your own home. But I'm going to stop my share and come back to chatting with you. All right, so that's your top 10 herbs. Having a copy of that can be really handy, and just start incorporating. I would say start even with 3. How can you incorporate those 3 herbs into your regular routine? You don't have to bite off all 10 at once. Just start slow, maybe even just introduce yourself to 1 and really get familiar with it and make it like an ally and a friend that you know on a very intimate level, right? In doing that, you're going to really equip yourself with sort of a knowledge that's beyond really book learning. Of course, you can turn to books and you can turn to other resources, but once you start holding that plant in your hands, it takes on a whole new meaning, and it's a whole new experience. So there are 3 habit hacks I wanted to just briefly go over with you tonight. One is detoxification. So detoxification is one of the key elements of making sure that our liver is functioning normally. Now, it sounds like a big word and it sounds like kind of a scary event. When you hear the word detox, it kind of conjures up these fevers and vomiting and nausea and maybe a 28-day program, who knows? But we don't really need to go to that extreme. Although we do need to recognize that even if we aren't addicted to things, we are. And we have probably tendencies towards foods that are easy to access. So it might be convenience that's our addiction. It might be sugar that's our addiction. It might be carbs. It might even be salts, processed salty foods. And detoxification is such a key element and something that if we were living in a really native hunter-gatherer kind of way, we would be naturally getting this kind of detoxification in everything that we eat, in the water even that we drank, but we don't have access to that. It's not built into our routine. And so we just need to rebuild detoxification into our routine. And there are some really simple things that we can do. And the first one is to prevent. Preventing the intake of detoxification is way better than getting rid of it after the fact, right? And some simple things that we can do there is really analyzing the products that we're bringing into our home, from cleaning products to skincare products to our foods. Everything that we bring into our home is creating an environment that's either pro detoxification or eliminating tox, a pro-liver or kind of anti-liver. And even our furniture can be finished in such a way that it's a major stressor for our bodies. So just starting to think about things about what kind of laundry soap are you using? I happen to be very sensitive to fragrance laundry soaps. And when I smell somebody who smells like laundry soap, I almost instantaneously get sick to my stomach. And a lot of times it'll even trigger a migraine for me. So that just kind of goes to show how much of an impact these things are having. Whether you have that sort of a reaction or not, you're still being impacted. Your hormones are still triggered based on the smells that come into your home and even just around you. So what can we do to prevent? Fragrances is a big word. I'm going to encourage you to start there. If you haven't already eliminated the word fragrance from your life, do it. Unfortunately, fragrance has turned into meaning synthetic smells that are highly toxic and highly impactful of our hormone balance and imbalance. So we really want to remove those fragrances. And those are anything that says, oh, this fragrance lasts for 6 to 8 weeks, you really need to get rid of, because those stabilizers make that fragrance even worse. And so Gain is one of the worst culprits. next to that is probably fabuloso. The list goes on. And I think that as we kind of eliminate these things from our lives, we start to notice plugins are a huge culprit, and room deodorizers are a huge culprit. And even just eliminating that one thing can have a massive, give your liver a massive break. So cleaning up that environment, and then of course eating and using products that break down toxins. And so adding these things in that help our liver by supporting the breaking down of toxins. One of the major ones there are citruses. Citruses and anything really acidic that you eat, it's interesting, actually help break down toxins and help dealkalinize your body, or alkalinize your body. I'm sorry. We want to alkalinize. So, citruses, apple cider vinegar. These are really great options. Those bitter things that we talked about a little bit, the bitter herbs and foods, they actually really help your body break down chemicals and then eliminate them. What will happen with chemicals over time is they actually build up in our systems. And this could be a medication, or it could just be an exposure to a food, a chemical in a food. When your liver doesn't know what to do with it, what happens is it sends it off into your body and the fat cells absorb it. And then the fat cells retain it and they hold it there. It's like a beautiful way that our body protects us from these toxins that have come in. And so that fat will not release that toxin again unless you do something specific and almost dramatic to help release it. And that looks like doing something like using citrus. You can take any citrus juices, like a lime juice, a lemon juice, taking a swig of that. Of course, essential oils are a great option. And making that a part of your regular routine, whether you're adding it to your water or drinking some in the morning, just as a way to get started. So the second thing that is the second habit hack that I wanted to share would be greens. Greens are so critical. We talked about dandelion, we talked about chicory. Those greens are great. There's a lot of greens out there that are beautiful option. Greens aid in cleaning toxins from the liver and facilitating their removal from the body. Almost everyone, at least in modern society, doesn't eat enough greens. And not only that, we don't eat enough foods that are fed only greens. So grass-fed butters, grass-fed chicken meat, grass-fed chickens who lay beautiful dark orange, red eggs. Those are other ways that we can get the benefits of these greens. But greens in and of themselves should be a huge part of our diet. And they do have those bitter tendencies, but they also come with a dense supply of antioxidants. And they help, again, to aid in the production of bile, and bind with the things that need to be disposed. So we need to think about how much greens do for our body. And one of the best things you can do is first thing in the morning, hydrate and have a greens product. And then the third hack is hydration. So hydration is we hear and talk about it all the time, but I wanted to make a few things clear that not any water will do. And it's not about the quantity. So we don't need to think about our body weight in half in ounces. That's not really the magic number. In fact, a lot of people who drink that much water or lots of water will go in and even test as if they're dehydrated. And this is in large part because water is a binder too, and it binds with minerals and vitamins, and it helps, it carries them along with it. When our water is deplete of that, when our water is either city water or even distilled water has no vitamins or minerals in it, we are putting that in our body and actually potentially flushing out more than we're bringing in. And so we really need to make sure that we are getting key components like magnesium and potassium. A lot of people are adding salts to their water. We want to make sure those are non-iodized salts. Salt is a wonderful way to get and add back in a lot of vitamins and minerals, but we need to make sure that the salt is good quality salts, not just table salts. And we just need to be aware that our hydration is really an opportunity to add in more vitamins and minerals. If you think of spring water that comes from deep deep springs in the mountains. It's full of all kinds of trace minerals that we almost can't even measure all the goodness that's in it. But if we tried to measure the same thing in our city water, or even the waters out of most wells, because the groundwater is so ick, for a lack of better word. We need to be careful of what we're drinking and also making sure that we're adding back in. So filtration is really key, especially if you're in the city and there's chemicals, chlorination and fluoride and all of those things strip our body of vitamins and minerals and tax our bones and also our liver. So we really want to switch over. So hydration is really key. And of course, I will share some information about ways that you can improve that with a deeper dive. But really just starting to turn to that and paying attention to how you can better hydrate is really critical. So if you're wanting to dive deep, I know this is already like a lot of information, and I don't want to get into too much more. I'm going to answer questions at the end. So thank you for sharing them. Keep them in the comments. And if you have them, you can always bring them to me later too. I'll try to be accessible for those. But if you want to do a deeper dive, I do have good news. I created a 90-day renewal program, which is a course that can be taken as a video education or as printable. So similar to the 10 herbs printable that I just shared with you, there's a lot of printables in this course. And even just those would be a treasure trove of liver loving information. But if you want more in-depth education and downloadable printables, all of this comes with the 90-day liver protocol, which is going to step you through what to do. It's separated into 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and it's a combination of nutritional, herbal supplements so that you can help your liver be fortified and ready for a detox, and then also do that heavy lifting of getting rid of the things that are built up inside of us. I'll also go through in each ingredient, most of the herbs that we've talked about tonight already and many more. I'll also go deeper into how the liver functions, which is helpful for helping us understand what is impacting our liver and what we should expect to see in terms of improvements, or when we see a symptom, knowing that that actually relates back to liver function. I have a list of what to eat, including a grocery shopping list, and then also a no-no list, so that you can simultaneously work on both sides of that and improve what you're bringing into your life, and also what you have as making it easier. A lot of times when we just say no, 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 we forget that on the other side of that, there is a yes, yes, yes. And there might be a lot of things on that grocery list that you're surprised about and that you haven't added to your regular routine that you can and you will really love. I have included alkalinity information so you can learn more about just keeping your body in a state of good alkalinization. A habit tracker, 30 simple habits list, plus education around the best liver rhythm. So what you can do as a part of just your daily, whether it's your sleep habits or when you eat versus when you don't eat. I know there's a lot of information about fasting or not fasting, whether that's good for you or not good for you. And I'll share a good amount about that and what your best rhythms and routines look like in terms of supporting your liver health. It does have a habit tracker printable, a 30 simple habits printable, the liver no-nos grocery shopping list, liver loving recipe book with teas and herbal tools and meals, a resource list, an emotions wheel, and that 90-day protocol overview. The course or the protocol products, and you're going to get continued also additional support via WhatsApp. I've created a group so that you can post questions in there. I'll post continuing education. With the course, you actually get, I think it's 10 weeks of regular follow-up emails to help encourage and get you going. And the course is, I think I put a ton of information in it, but I also think it makes it so much easier to understand and to pick out and choose what you can actually roll with. You may not do it all. One of the things that's in there that I really love is liver packing with castor oil. And you can find lots of information about castor oil packs, and a lot of that is in the course. It teaches you how to do that. And while I love doing it, I haven't been able to turn it into a regular routine. Now, as good as that is for the liver, it's not make or break. I'm not going to not heal my liver if I don't do castor oil packs. But if it's something that makes me feel better, makes you feel better, it's something that you can add. And if it feels like a nice routine to add in, you can do that. If you like drinking tea before bed, I have a tea recipe in here that you can make very simply. And that can be a really nice routine. So there's a long list to choose from, and you can kind of mix and match. And as you add things in, you're going to start getting more results. Oh, Parker has said I'm hooked on packs. I know you told me that. I'm so excited that you're having great success with that. Um, but anyway, I am offering that 50% off. All you have to do is go to myliverrenewal.health and your code is renewal. That's it, just to get 50% off of that course. Um, that's what I wanted to share with you. Mostly the information that I felt like we needed to get out is the 10 list of 10, how to get your free printable there, and then those hacks, because if you incorporate those 3 hacks, you're going to start seeing results already. But I'm going to go ahead and open the chat now since I can see it and answer any questions that have popped up and just say thank you again for coming in. And as questions come, maybe even after tonight, don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you don't have my text phone number, it's 336-290-1812, and I'm always eager to answer questions. What's the most potent, the greens or making it into a tea? Um, okay, so eating raw greens is really, really probably the most potent way to get all the potential that that plant has to offer. So when you're talking about chicory or dandelion especially. But then when you're talking about some herbs are very aromatic, and the aromatics almost do as much just to trigger hormones as they do when it comes to like the fibrous parts of the plant. So it really kind of depends on what you're going for and what you'll do, because if you'll drink a tea but you won't eat the greens, then you need to do the tea, right? So this is really about finding the balance that works for your routine. um what are your feelings on bottled spring water? So bottled spring water is great. I think that there is a lot of potential room for misleading in terms of bottled spring water. So if you're really doing your research, one thing that I would highly recommend looking for is something that's not bottled in plastic. If it's bottled in plastic, it could be the best water in the world, and I think you've lost all of its benefit. So um, if you can find something, so I know that those big blue bottles you bring into your home, if you can find those, that kind of plastic is different than the cheapy plastic they use to make water bottles at the grocery store. So I would definitely look for a source of water. Even if that's all you get from this call, finding a source of water that is going to improve your health tremendously. And it could be a whole house water filter, looking and finding one that meets both your budget and does what you want it to do. And that, there's like a whole degree you can get in learning all of that. There's a lot to learn about water filtration. One thing I want you to look for that is potentially a quick fix, restructuring water is going to be a really helpful way to get a lot of benefit without spending a ton of money. So you can get restructuring filters just for a pitcher of water or for an individual water serving bottle, travel bottle. So I would definitely encourage you to look at restructured water as a potential option. How do you feel about Berkey water filter? That's what I have. I have a Berkey in our home. Our water we've had tested. I think I don't remember the name. We did like a really in-depth water testing and just to make sure there was no imbalances. It didn't have a lot of minerals, but the water was clean and it didn't have any trace, like glyphosate was one of the main things I was concerned about. And then traces of pharmaceuticals, and especially things like birth control, of course, is going to throw off our hormones massively, right? And that is in our water supply. So, and there's no treatment for that. So these water soluble pharmaceuticals and chemicals are in our water supply, and the water treatment facility is really not doing anything about those. So we do have to find our own water treatment in order to get our water filtration to get those out. Are smoothies okay to get in my greens? I think you said from form matters. Yeah, smoothies are great. If you can get your greens in that way. In the 90-day protocol that I share, it's actually, I'm going to pull that up and go through that with you a little bit right now. Actually, I forgot I had a second screen to share. And I'll overview what I recommend personally. Obviously, I have product line that I love, but I'm going to give you maybe ideas about how you can do something similar. even if you don't have all of these products. But if you do decide that you want to do it this 90-day protocol just for simplicity's sake, because you trust me, whatever the case may be, then you'll get the course for free too. So that's a bonus. I'll refund you the course if you decide to do this. So you can see this comes with the protocol, and you'll get this in an email from me as well, just so you don't have to worry about taking in all the information right now. But in phase one, we're really doing a lot of just prepping the liver. And that's what is outlined right here. I'm going to move down to phase one, the more detailed version. What the key components are: this endocrine herbal complex, which is a liver and kidney strengthener. And it's got a lot of those herbs that I just listed. It's got an artichoke. Actually, I didn't mention artichoke is one of the better herbs that you can drink it as a tea. Obviously, you can eat artichokes. It is a bitter, and it is really, really good for the liver and helps with the regeneration of the liver. So this endocrine complex is really just a beautiful blend of a lot of the herbs on the top 10 list plus more. A probiotic. If you don't have the right gut bacteria, then it's going to be really difficult for your liver to get what it needs if it's getting messed up, whatever you eat in your gut and not being processed appropriately. So highly recommend a great probiotic. And then this is the greens drink and our fish oil. This is what I sell through doTERRA, refer people to. The greens drink is incredible, and what's in the list of ingredients is just really, really extensive. And they're all pre-methylated. Or pre-processed in terms of like when you eat this green supplement, your body doesn't have to do that much digesting because a lot of it is sort of pre-digested for you. And a lot of it's been fermented so that it's just very, very easy for your body to take it in, which makes less work for the liver and more benefit. So I really love this greens product, and it tastes good, which is a huge qualifier because if it doesn't taste good, then it's going to be really difficult to choke it down. But I love this product, and even my kids love it. The fish oil also tastes amazing and is easy to take. And then the Mito 2 Max, this is an energy stabilizer, and it's got, you can see here, cordyceps and yerba santa, ginseng, PQQ, all of these great things, which a lot of these are antioxidants and polyphenols and things that just help stabilize your energy levels. If you're really, when your mitochondria are out of whack and don't have the right kind of energy, then it throws off digestion, and it definitely throws off the liver because it just starts going haywire trying to make everything work. And so this really helps it fill in that energy sort of gap herbally, completely naturally. And so I really love it as a part of this program. And then lastly is our electrolyte hydration drink. This is a deep sea mineral salt source. It's got 3 types of magnesium, potassium, and it also has ginseng extract for a little bit of boost in energy, and baobab extract, which is more and more is coming out about baobab as a really great tool. It's in skin products also to help plump the skin because it helps cells retain and hold water for longer, or hold that moisture for longer. So that's phase one. It's just an example. I'm not going to go too much further. One of the main differences, though, in the second month is then you add in what's called GX Assist Essential Oil Blend. And this is just full of caprylic acid, tea tree, thyme, oregano, peppermint, lemongrass, and lemon, which are all really, really amazing antibacterials, but without kind of the wipeout that you get when you take an antibiotic. So it helps get rid of these bacteria that are overpopulating our guts, and also cleanse the liver by breaking down toxins that have been really difficult for the liver. The liver has, what often happens is it sort of stores things it can't deal with right now because it's like, I just got to get through the next meal, so I'm going to put this off and maybe when I get a chance later. But that later chance never comes because we as a whole never come back to getting the things in our diet that help the liver do it. And so this is a part of the second phase. Once your liver has been fortified with all of those herbs, then we come back to this GX Assist, and it really helps cleanse that out. And if you're having any kind of stopped up digestive issues, this is going to be where you start to really see that turnaround. And you'll start to feel more energy because you're just losing potentially weight, but a lot of the toxins that are stored in those fat cells have an opportunity to be re-released and then taken out through the liver that's been refortified and partially regenerated at least through phase one. Okay, so that's an overview of this protocol that I love. And there is a phase three, which is just more of like building those cells back up and making sure you're maintaining and adding in celery seed oil. If you love celery, you can make juice. I hate celery, so the idea of drinking celery juice is a nightmare. So I can put this in a capsule and just take it and get the benefits that celery has to offer, which is just incredible. Great for the nervous and digestive systems. And it also helps calm the mind and body when used orally. A great piece to add to this cleanse. You can use it aromatically. I don't think it smells particularly good. It smells like celery. But it is a really great, it's great for all the organs, not just the liver. Okay, I'm going to stop the share. And like I said, you will get all of this. Oh, and I do have some other health recommendations, my top recommendations here for encouraging that liver renewal at the same time. And a lot of these are things you can just do at home. The big six is you can even just Google this, a great way to stimulate lymphatic release. And then creating these routines and rhythms. So there's a little bit about that here and how to do that to best support your liver. And obviously your renewal comes with my support. And if you're ready to renew, then all of these freebies are a potential. If you're already a wholesale member, then if you decide to do this program, then I will refund you for the course just so that it'll help you support you as you go through that process. I'm going to stop share now, but any other questions are welcome. I appreciate them all. I think that the smoothie question triggered reminding me of all of that, which I appreciate. But back to the question is like, if you're just adding greens to smoothies, in fact, it is beneficial for you to do that because it helps you break down and actually release. So a lot of times we think raw foods are better, and they can be. Like raw dairy, for example, is better. Raw honey is better. But raw carrots are actually pretty difficult for our body to get all the nutrition out of. And we have all these ancient techniques of food preparation that we don't really use anymore. Generally, we just cook, right? Like we just cook everything. And some of that will break down and make it a little bit more digestible, but you actually will lose some of the qualities of that particular plant or vegetable, what it has to offer. So one of the best things you can do is just breaking it down in a smoothie is a great example. It's like a pre-digestive function. And then adding another layer or process of fermentation would be a really great way to kind of enhance anything that way, whether it's like greens that you get out of your garden in the summer. Obviously, this is the way that we preserve as well, but doing that actually breaks down and helps us digest our food and get more out of it at the same time. So that question is a great one, and I'm glad you brought it up because yeah, smoothies are a really great way to actually, and it's interesting because some people have a reaction to apples. They have a reaction. I can't remember what the chemical is in the apple, but they consider themselves allergic to apples. But if you put apples in a smoothie, it's fine because that chemical in breaking it down and sort of almost like chewing it with your blender takes that whatever that enzyme is and it releases it so that that no longer causes the allergic issue. And when I say allergy, it's like some people's mouths get itchy when they eat apples, and there's a couple other fruits that do that too. But often when you pre-blend it, then that goes away, and it's just showing you how that blending is sort of a digestive act. Um, okay. Well, I don't see any more questions flooding in, but if you want to unmute or raise your hand or anything along those lines, then feel free to. We are at 8:47, so I feel like miraculously only 3 minutes, 2 minutes past what I had anticipated being done at. But I hope that you've gotten some answers and information that you can take with you and use even tonight. One of the things I saw in the protocol that you can easily start tonight would be a gratitude journal if you don't already have one. It's such a simple thing. We tend to overthink wellness, and sometimes it's really just about our minds. And I would say that right now, other people are trying to control our minds more than ever in history, right? With social media and the news and everything. And the more control we can take back on that, and even if the only thing you get from this is you should detoxify your intake of information, then just start there. Detoxify that and you'll feel better. Does menopause affect the liver's function? Yes, it's kind of like a back and forth. So menopause is worsened when the liver is depleted. And so a lot of times, if you talk to some women, they're like, they have very minimal symptoms when they go through menopause. And, you want to like murder them because you're like, what? No, that's not fair. But a lot of that has to do with what their habits are. So I know one woman, I don't know if you know Barbara O'Neill is, but she's talked about menopause really not being a massive issue for her. Now, you have to keep in mind that she only eats like beans and greens. She doesn't eat any meat. She doesn't eat any dairy. So if you don't want to take that on, then that's reasonable because I don't want to either. But she also does all these other things. She did have health struggles, and then she started to identify them, and she started to drink some teas that were good for digestive needs. So it's really about adopting these like supportive things that become a part of your habits that then support a sort of an ease of transition. We feel these transitions even harder because our liver is trying to shift through so much. And that's why. And it's interesting because I've been a very sensitive traveler is how I would describe it. Or even after big events, I would have a down day where I had to recover. And I haven't had that in almost 2 years since I've started these processes. We traveled out to the West Coast a couple weeks ago, which I thought, oh my gosh, it's gonna hit me hard, and the jet lag is going to be miserable, and I'm going to need a day off when I get home and a day off when we get there and all these. I didn't. I recovered just fine. I made sure to have my greens with me. I made sure to take my supplements that I knew would help support me. But I do think that like I mentioned with my jaundice, I think my liver was a little bit weakened even from the time I was very small, and I never did the healing. And so I think over the last 5 years, I've been seeing more healing there and less of those symptoms during these transitional periods when okay, I used a lot of energy and it wipes me out. Now I use all that energy and my liver isn't completely overwhelmed, and I can just go on to the next day and feel good. And that's a really incredible place to be. Because I haven't been like that my whole life, and now here I am in my 40s and I feel better than I did in my 20s. So I can't tell you how many days I've spent in recovery in my bed after big events. You can ask Drew. He always knew, okay, we're going to have to spend the next day or plan for a day of recovery for Lacey, because I've just been my constitution has been weak. And I think my constitution is stronger. And that's really what we're doing. Our constitution, if we want to think about that, is our liver. What's your constitution? Well, boils down to your liver. So anyway, good question. All right. Well, I'm going to call it a wrap. And if you guys want to reach out privately, you're welcome to. Again, that phone number is 336-290-1812. And I will email you that protocol and any links just to remind you where to find all that information.
That was going to be my next question is in the
Yes,
email.
go.
Will because I think you said my liver renewal health, like all that information is going to be on there on how to.
The My Liver Renewal Health it's more information about the course, and then at the bottom it has that printable, the 10 herbs printable. And if you want to access that 10 herbs printable for free there, you just put in the coupon code, which was Renew Me, all one word.
Okay.
But I will email you the protocol separately,
Okay.
and I'll put that in there as well, just the information about that, just in case it doesn't work for some reason tonight. Okay? Yay. All right. Thank you all. I appreciate you hopping on here with me. And again, I hope it was helpful. And good. More coming in. You're welcome. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.